Hello again, and welcome back, friends. It's time for another wonderful Books and Coffee. Welcome back. So the book we're going to be reviewing today is called Misadventures with a City Girl, written by two authors, Miss Meredith Wilde and Shel Bliss. Now, of course, before we get into the delicious spicy details, let's get a little bit more of a glimpse into Miss Wilde and Miss Bliss. So some fun facts about Miss Wilde is that she's actually a #1 best-selling New York Times, USA Today, and international author. She also founded her own imprint in 2014 called Waterhorse. And then, of course, probably my favorite fact about her is that she's a mom and she is a very, very proud novelist of erotica. Now, Michelle Bliss is also a USA Today and best-selling author. Both of these women are fantastic. And actually, Michelle Bliss has another erotic series that she's written called The Men of Ink, which I have digital copies of. And who knows, maybe we'll dive into that one a little later. So, Misadventures with a City Girl was actually published in 2017. So now to give a little bit, of a plot summary, no spoilers in this section at least. Basic premise is our main character, Madison, is going through a very nasty divorce. And to escape the paparazzi of Hollywood, she escapes to the beautiful town of Atwater Springs. And while she's there, enjoying the hot springs as one does when going through a terrible, nasty Hollywood divorce, she ends up meeting Luke Dawson. Now, Luke Dawson is kind of like this, a very handsome hunky hermit who is tired of society and just wants to live in the woods in a cabin and chop wood and be hot. These two end up meeting, chemistry flows, and yeah. I will say that the story's actually very good, I'm not gonna lie, which again kind of gets us into why I chose this book in the first place, which unashamedly is porn with plot. And I'm not even kidding, but seriously, it's one of those where, sometimes when you pick up, an erotica book, you want it to give you the spice, but for me at least, I want the sexy time to add the flavor. The story needs to still be really, really good. And then when the sexy time comes in, then it's oh, an extra little spice. It's made my day. Which is what this book does extremely well. And that's just a credit to the authors that we have. They're erotica novelists, so yes. And two of the best erotica novelists, so fire. And this leads me into my second reason why I chose this book in particular. And it's because of the dual narration along with the dual, with the co-writing for both authors. You get to taste two kinds of writing. And, a lot of times I'm a little, scared to read books like that because sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And you can really tell when it doesn't, and it's bad. It's one of those, again, I love giving books a chance. Again, never judge a book by its cover, but sometimes, híjole, damn. I feel when you get those books, you're damn, I'm never gonna get those 5 days back, am I? Ugh. Or it may take you longer, or you just may never finish it, which has happened to me. But this book has no trouble whatsoever. In fact, sometimes, when even the first time I read it, second time, third time, however many times I've read this book, I just get lost in it. I get enveloped in the story, and I forget that it's written by two different people. And because their styles are, very similar, but also different in ways, in terms of how the characters are portrayed, in terms of how the narration flows. It's sometimes very cut and dry, like I've kind of noticed with Michelle Bliss. She does get into a little bit of detail, but a lot of it is just kind of like straight to the point. And then you have Miss Meredith Wild, who kind of like builds it up. And I mean, again, not to say that one versus the other is bad. Like, they're both fantastic authors. And I enjoy both of their writing styles, which, I mean, makes sense. If I didn't enjoy either one, this book would have been one of those, but it's not. Which actually gets me into my third point, which is that this book was so much fun. It was a huge enjoyment read, a super big page turner, like for reals. So not only was this book really fun to read, but again, the characters were so relatable. And I'm not saying like in every aspect, but in like little aspects here and there. So for example, like Madison has a huge like insecurity issue, which, let's face it, ladies, we all have them. I mean, it's not even just us ladies. Guys, you out there too, you know what I mean. And so we have these insecurities and stuff, especially when you go through a divorce, and especially when you've been cheated on, you start to doubt your self-worth. I mean, Madison is a very, very headstrong character. She's a very strong woman. And that's what I love about her character too, is that even though she's, going through a nasty divorce, that she's, being faced with all of these issues, she's still very headstrong, but she's not afraid to be vulnerable. And I absolutely appreciate that, because as someone who isn't very strong or, super self-confident in myself, seeing little aspects of me and what I could be in Madison was very, it was very refreshing. One of the things that I really appreciate, especially, as I start discovering more, erotica books and trying to like find really good, sexy time stories, is that's just what I'm looking for, is a really good story with some sexy time. Like, again, ain't nothing wrong with, porn with no plot. Sometimes I will just pop on to, those, you all know what I'm talking about in terms of all of this. But you know those websites where you just go and you're just like, I just want to read about these two people getting it sexy and then be done. Like, no plot, no nothing, don't need to know. There's nothing wrong with that. But when it comes to a book, I am very picky when it comes to eroticas. Because again, I want the story to be very good. I want to be able to enjoy my time, but also like have the sexy time make sense, because I have read some books that, will have a mediocre story and then boom, like sexy time. You're like, okay, like that was kind of enjoyable, but kind of thrown in my face at the same time. And I don't know if I like that. Kind of feel like my eyeballs got violated, which is not something you ever want to experience. With this book though, you don't get that at all. It's one of those where the plot leads up to the sexy time, and it's almost like the sexy time is important to the plot, which is again something with first time erotica readers is something that I was just like, ooh, I like this, is refreshing. So for example, when Luke and Madison sleep together for the first time, it's one of those where it leads up because she is been bothered by her divorce. She's feeling very, unlovable. And even though she's kind of stubborn about like, I don't need him, I'm beautiful, blah, 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 there's still that doubt. And again, ladies, we know what that feels like. Same thing with my guys. We know what that feels like. Luke, after going through war and dealing with all of the bullshit of society and stuff, coming back, he just is like, I'm tired of society. I just want to be left alone. But I miss the feeling of being wanted, of being loved. And so these two just get trapped in his cabin because of Storm, because duh. And then sexy time happens. And it's one of those where, again, it's kind of like, okay, well, that's like the regular setup for like an erotica. They get trapped in, a house by themselves because of the weather, woo. But the way that Miss Wilde and Miss Bliss write this, write the story, write the narrative around the sexy time, and, embed the sexy time into the plot. Oh boy, it's like leading up to it. Like leading up to them sleeping together is like one of those where once it happens and it's over, you're like, whoa. Like, I'm not gonna lie, it was kind of like you experience it with them and you're like, yes, sexual frustration is gone. Or is it? Because, it happens a few more times. But yeah, this book even has like the very heartwarming, ending. It has a very good climax, a very good conflict too in this book that I've never really get to experience with erotica in terms of just like stuff that I've read before. This was like my first erotica that I bought that I realized, oh, this is the kind that I like. So there we go. Well, in terms of rating the Misadventures with the City Girl, I'm definitely going to be rating this book a 5 out of 5 steamy coffee cups. Because, spice. But thank you so much, guys, for joining me again for the third installment of Books and Coffee. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I am so much in love with everybody and their support, and I look forward to meeting all of my new friends. If you're new, welcome. And yeah, so thank you so much again to everyone. I love you guys, and I'll see you next time.